YouTube, we missed you. Check this out. I have a box. We're gonna open it right now. Look at the cushioning. Ooh.
It's not a garbage bag.
It's not a garbage bag, but there is cushioning in there too. So we're gonna cut this thing open. We're gonna find out what it is. As usual, check the link in the description and you will know where it came from. Okay, here we go. Wow, bubble wrap and everything. They're going all out. Okay, something's coming out. Wow, look at the care and packaging. It looks like a gift wrap.
It does.
That's actually pretty awesome. Too bad some of our other competitive brands don't do that.
They do not.
Not that I'm gonna mention their name. Excuse me. Don't mind me. Just socially unacceptably covering my hand with my, cough with my hand. All right, get out of here. What do we have here? Oh, it looks like it could be, oh my goodness, JJRC. I've had some stuff from JJRC and it's good.
It's been pretty good.
Okay. Oh boy, what do we have here? Oh, wow, look at that. It's an MO5. That is so cool. JJRC, MO5. So MO5 stands for, I have no idea what it stands for. We're gonna open this up and find out. It's basically a little helicopter, so I'm kind of excited to see this 4-channel Heli user manual. Okay, looks like we got a color manual. Looks really pretty simple. It's in English, evidently.
Maybe.
Purportedly it's in English. Additional age recommendations, not for, wow. Looks like it's actually sort of almost English. Binding between the transmitter and receiver, turn on the remote control as it's allowed to be. Wow, this is so weird. And I usually get burned because I'll say how English it is and then we'll read something.
And then I start reading it and it's not.
Yeah. Horizontal calibration sticks down and out. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pull this thing out right now. Well, that's nice. There's some additional packaging in there. 2 batteries. A bag of goodies. Okay, so we got a bag of goodies. Sorry, I had to sneeze and it would have blown up everybody's speakers.
I'm sure people would be shocked at how loud you sneeze.
Yeah, it'd be super big surprise for all you guys. Okay, here's a gear, here's a tail rotor, and then we got, looks like a Phillips extremely small Chinese screwdriver.
Ooh.
Look at that, that's super dinky. And then of course some sort of probably a maybe a 1mm. And then we have a charger, USB style, and that goes to a 2S balance lead. So what we're gonna do, these are 700 milliamp hour, 7.4 volt, 20C 2S packs. That's what 7.4 volts means. It means 2 cells in series. We have a JST output, which is super nice. Nice high quality silicone leads on both balance and discharge lead. This is the discharge lead. That's called a JST plug. This is called a Hextronics 2S plug for balance charging. So let's go ahead and get these plugged in before we even break out the rest. For those of you who haven't seen any of our videos before, this is the most exciting part of the video where I plug in chargers. But we are realists. This is just what you have to do, okay? So look at that fancy dance. It's got a red flashing light. And then you're just gonna plug this thing in like that. And then that goes solid. So now alternatively, if you have a nicer charger, like for instance, the Spectrum Gen 2 charger, I'm gonna go into the area down here and I'm gonna pull out this little adapter with an IC3 to a JST plug. And so we can go ahead and plug this in here and we can charge it here. I'm just showing you that you have options. And yes, you can use the smart charger to charge these things. The negative is gonna go over here. And then look at the screen. Look how nice that is. That is super, super, super nice. How easy that is. You see you've got your cell voltages. Look at that fancy dance. We're gonna try to get a better image of this. Okay, and I just need to scroll down here, change the current from 2.2 amps down to, whoops, that's the wrong way. We'll go to 0.7. And then we'll just scroll down to start. Okay, so it's starting. It shows you where it is, and it's also going to give you a total time. Okay, so without further ado, we'll jump back over to the box of goodies. Now, the reason I'm charging that, of course, is so I can show you this helicopter flying, and that's why you're probably here. So when we do these small unboxings, we usually do the unboxing before we show the flight, just so that you kind of see how it came out, what problems we ran into. As usual, when we build buildings, or excuse me, when we build airplanes, we will show the process at the end after the flight has happened, mostly because there's just a lot more time tied up. One of the reasons okay, good clamshell style. Sturdy, it's not maybe the strongest packaging in the world, but they did have extra packaging in here to keep it from being damaged. So that's pretty cool. Looks like it's got a brushed motor. I'm surprised by that. This is the MO5. Didn't it say MO3?
Nope, 5.
MO5? So I'm not a nut job? Yeah, MO5, okay. So these things, I've learned that if you screw with them, then they're hard to get back on, these little triangular thingies.
So that's why you're gonna screw with them?
For your viewing pleasure.
Don't set those down on your counter.
Yeah, set them down on your sack. The triangular black things. It's the only way, ow, that peeled up the fingernail a little bit. Okay, cool, so they're all off of there. Now there's just a grommet. The grommet holds this thing on, see? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can pull this off. This is pretty sturdy, it's nice thick plastic. You can see that's pretty good, pretty good. Hey, it passed quality assurance. I've been very impressed. Every item that we've gotten that was JJRC has been really good. And namely, just as a quick comparison, if you guys are into VTOLs, JJRC had a VTOL that was called the MO2, and I love it. It is awesome. It's super fun. This thing you can take off and you can flip it vertical easily in a room this size, no problem at all. And then you can go into forward flight mode, but I would not do that in this room because you won't have enough room to transition, let alone fly. But very cool, all brushless motors around, which is really cool. And it comes with everything you need to fly. Very good value. And LEDs on the top and the bottom of the wing. So in case you guys are wondering, we link to that. It's down in the description below as well. Just as a comparison, if you guys are thinking maybe this isn't your bag of tricks, you could go for that. Transmitter's nice, good size. It's real light, like there's just nothing to it. So it's got a safety screw here, which is probably good if you have kids that are, into eating batteries and things, because that's kind of what these things do. They prevent kids from getting in there and eating the batteries. So we're probably beyond that age. Looks like we need 4 AAAs, and we will go get those and come right back.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just getting in here to put these batteries in, and I'm noticing that there's like black stuff on this. I don't know if that's good, if it's oxidation or if it's paint. So that's kind of weird. I've never seen that before. So flat side of the battery goes in, the little bump goes out, so the positive goes out and the flat goes back. Just using our mismatched, cheapest Chinese batteries that you can possibly find. Note that they did not come with the helicopter, so you are gonna have to get that. Now, Ready to Fly from some of the China brands are gonna not come with these things because they have to import these. And once they do the importation process, then they basically can't, they can't always send the batteries. So with the LiPos, typically they're installed in the vehicle and then they're considered an integral part of the machine or equipment. And so they can get past some of the customs rules in that manner. So without further ado, let's turn this thing on and see what it looks like. Okay, so it's turning on. It's got kind of looks like a liquid crystal display here. Obviously it's not bound up or anything. Oh, cool. Okay, so you've got a percentage indicator on the up, down. Whoa, look at that. That's a spring-loaded. So this must be like high rates, medium rates, high rates, medium rates. Nothing seems to happen there. Trim, 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 trim. Gives you a long beep when you go to the center. There doesn't seem to be any press button there, which is sometimes there's a button when you push straight down on the sticks. I'm not hearing anything. There's no click. Okay, so that gets us pretty much ready for the next thing. Obviously it comes with spare blades here. which is really nice. These are both labeled A and these are both labeled B. So it doesn't matter that I know of. But on some of the other aircraft, that would matter. So there is not a fly bar on this. It's fly barless, which is nice. So it looks a lot nicer. And this thing has a flight controller, so we're gonna see how that works. I'm surprised it's a brushed motor though. This is a brushed motor. So obviously it would be preferable to have a brushless motor on a helicopter, but this is a decent sized helicopter. So I'm excited to see how this thing does, the JJRC MO5. So we're gonna pause and we will get our batteries done. Okay, so we've been reading the manual, and in the off time while we're waiting for this batteries to charge, I just wanted to give you a close up of the plastic. It's pretty good. I can't tell if this is fiberglass or if it's carbon fiber. I think it may be carbon fiber because it's pretty stiff for the boom. And then the servos look to be, of course, plastic gear servos for the swash plate controls. There's only 2 of them too, which is kind of weird. And then it's very strange because the manual talks about having brushless motors. And these, if they're brushless motors and I'm wrong, I apologize in advance, folks. The only way I could see that being a brushless motor is if this thing is like a DC output and then there's some sort of an integral ESC in here, which I don't know how they would even do that. So let's just call it what it is. It's a brushed motor. And then this is also a brushed motor because there's only 2 leads. If it was brushless, there'd be 3 wires at least that go to it. And everything in the RC world is 3 wires. So I don't know what they're talking about. Or if maybe this comes in brushless and brushed configurations, or this manual is used for more than one helicopter. So one of those things is true. Let's check the status of the batteries. I just want to show you guys about how long things are taking. We're about 85% here on this 2S 700 milliamp hour. You can see it's right there at 85%. And then over here, we can't tell because there's no information. But what we can do is we can plug it into the smart charger, the XBC 100 smart tester. So I'm just gonna unplug it. It's gonna go back to flashing. And then we'll just stick this into the charger. And that's at 76%. So it looks like right now we're at 88% over here. We're at 76% over here. So you actually have a pretty decent charge rate on this thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my charging and I'm actually gonna change the current. If this is 20, these are 20C. Yeah, 20C. I'm gonna go ahead and kick this up to 1.4 amps. And then we'll get that, it is already running. So that's gonna go a little bit quicker for us. So we'll come right back when those things are done charging. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to put this back on. If you're getting this for your first helicopter or whatever, then I wanna teach you how to do it. It's really easy. You do not have to have the front off to actually get to the battery or put the battery in or out. There's actually a little keeper here as well that will hold the wires, but it doesn't seem like it's holding very good. So no big deal, it really doesn't matter that much. But I just wanted to show you how to do this. It's super easy. So one of the first things that happens on a crappy helicopter is that the grommets pop off, and you will just hate that. These grommets are nice and quality, and you can kind of see all you do is you just poke that pin through, and then the grommet hangs onto it. Okay, just like that, real super simple. And then once it's on, you can, of course, grab the little triangular devices if you want to use them, and then just push those on with pressure. And then once you get them pushed on, one on each side, you can grab both sides and squeeze, and they snap on. And they look really nice, actually. This is the first set of those triangles that I've been able to successfully get to snap on. Usually when we get them, they immediately come off, and then they're extremely hard to get back on. And, you know, you could glue them on if you really cared. Okay, so there's that. And they look a lot nicer when they're on there. Of course, this is really pretty. This is a nice looking helicopter. So I'm really excited to see how it flies. These, not spring loaded. These, see how that's spring loaded? This is a mode 2 transmitter if I am understanding things correct. This will be, you know, go up, and this will be go down, okay? And then this will be lean forward and lean back. So lean forward to go forward and lean back to go back. And then lean right and lean left. So lean right and lean left. And then this will yaw the aircraft, okay? So if you want to fly forward, you would just push the stick like this, And then you could turn left with the rudder, or you could turn left by leaning the aircraft and doing a little bit of mix. So as you lean left, it's gonna start turning the aircraft like this, and then you would yaw, and that'll point it that direction. And you don't have to coordinate your controls as much on these simpler helicopters. So we'll show you how that does, how that looks in action really shortly. And now that we've kicked up the voltage, this one should be getting done anytime soon. In fact, we're at 98% right now on this LiPo, charging on this charger. So as you can see, it goes quite a bit quicker. And we've only got about 15 minutes of filming time. So that's, I would say that maybe we were off camera for 2 minutes, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not really.
So it wasn't very long. We were reading the manual, very good English so far. There hasn't been any recommendations to pack a lunch when we go flying at all. So if you're going flying, pack a lunch for sure, because you could get hungry.
But you do need to find a happy place to fly.
A happy place. You want to find your happy place. Okay, so I'm gonna abort this charge cycle because we're close enough to go ahead and get flying.
The manual does say a 15 to 20 minute flight time. So
yeah, that's like crazy.
That's a lot.
I'm gonna get bored of flying by then.
Me too. Oh, you were kidding.
So this is gonna go in here. Okay, and it actually kind of snapped for me. That's really nice. I didn't expect that at all. And then what I'm gonna do is, camera crew, we'll trade spots so I can sit down and just get good control over this. So I wanna make sure I'm safe when I do this, because it's the first time I've handled the helicopter, and you don't want these things to hit you. So always just pretend like it's gonna jump out and hit you. And if it does, then you'll know not to do that again. So you're gonna plug this in. It's not armed, but I don't trust anything from China until I test it. Okay, so you get a little red flashing light here. Okay, stick down, stick up, or stick up, stick down, right?
Yep.
And then it's supposed to basically arm. So I'm gonna just put it away from me just a hair. You can see there's actually red lights on both sides. That's kind of nice.
And it said the light should go solid.
Stick down, stick up. Now, one thing that happens sometimes on these is you have to start with the aircraft, and you'll notice it started flashing. So stick down, stick up, okay? So now stick down, and there it is, it's armed. So we have lean left, lean right, lean forward, lean back. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see that thing moving up and down is what's gonna pivot the swash plate, and that's gonna pull the helicopter forward or push the helicopter back or lean it this way. It's here, I'll show you. So when you move the stick like this, it leans everything left, and it leans everything right, leans it forward, and leans it back. And then the tail rotor is what actually changes the position of the aircraft from the yaw perspective. So you got pitch, roll, and yaw, and you can control all that with this. So we're gonna see how we take off. Do you have to press one button to take off, or do you just stick up?
I don't think so.
Okay, so here goes nothing. There must be a one-touch button to take off. Oh, special note, calibration needs to find a relatively flat field. Okay, so that's calibration. That was super easy, so sticks down and to the left. And then hover setting, so you have to do this to take off. So this is where we kind of cover our face and make sure we don't die. Okay, so I don't know if I'm supposed to do something here. Power on the plane, match the frequency and take off in flight. Long press the hover setting. Okay, so that resets your setting for your first flight after the aircraft landed on the ground. Okay, so this pulling them down and out is going to stop the flight. Gosh, how do you even take off?
How do you
Oh, and by the way, we have a mode 2, but you can also evidently get them in mode 1. I'm not sure if you have to order them separately or you can just switch. Oh, it looks like rudder switch. So press this key, mode 2, mode 1 converter. So that's this button here. Okay, so I'm not gonna do that, obviously. I want them to stay the way it is. So how are you supposed to take off? All the way down, all the way up. Okay, that doesn't do anything. There was a button like this on one of the helicopters. Well, it beeped. There it goes. So that's takeoff. Okay, a little bit of trimming there, no big deal. It's kind of got, there we go. I'm just using the trim to go forward a little bit and to go left a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's not too bad. So I had to press that button, that up button right there, to make it take off. And look, I mean, I'm not even looking at it. I don't even have my hands on the controls. This is how much I trust it.
Show us which button you pushed though.
This little button here, okay?
Oh, okay.
So now I'm gonna come back here and just land, hopefully. Very responsive controls. Now, when you hold that stick down for a few seconds, then it shuts off. One thing I want to warn you about, because, okay, now I believe this is safe to touch, so we should be good to go. One thing I want to warn you about is when you have these one-touch takeoff systems, is that if you have obstructions above the aircraft, you need to be aware of that and you need to act accordingly. So if you're flying inside and you've got a lamp like this, don't run into the lamp because you're going to be upset with yourself. This is a little bit bigger than the we've reviewed a couple other helicopters as well on this channel, and they've always been small. And one of the biggest issues is when you have one of these one-touch takeoffs, you have a hard time slowing the prop down, or not the prop in this case, the rotor, when you hit the ground. So that's one thing I want to test real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and press this one button here to take off. Okay, so it takes off. And then you see, you can abort the amount that it goes up by pressing down on the stick, okay? So you can see I'm right below this light and it's no problem. And by the way, this is like super easy to fly. I mean, I'm virtually not doing anything. I'm just kind of monitoring the situation and just kind of telling it approximately what to do. This is incredible. If I would have gotten this as a kid, it would have been amazing, because this is not hard to fly, guys. And it's a bigger helicopter. It's definitely drifting more than some of the other helicopters we've flown, but it's also a little bit bigger than some of the helicopters we've flown. So let's show you some coordinated turns, if I can get it out here in the living room. I know there's people out there that do a lot better with helicopter reviews because they are more skilled at helicopter flying than I am. But you can see it'll go. See how I got into my own prop wash there? And it got kind of wonky on me. I'm liking the way this is. I am giving it some up on the stick there, just so I can get up a little higher. We have 16-foot tall ceilings in the center of this room, so we have quite a bit of room. But if you were flying outside, I think on a windy day, you're gonna find the limits of the speed of this aircraft pretty quick. However, I am barely moving the stick. So you can see you can lean a lot more than I'm leaning. Back and forth is quite a bit more than left and right, which is good. You see it gets a little bit wonky, but it's keeping up just fine. So I'm almost trying to crash it here, and it just responds immediately. Very good flight controller. Those are the types of things that I look for in a helicopter. Now let's see if this will one-touch land. Let's come over here where we have more room, camera crew. So obviously protect yourself there, and I'm gonna land right in front of us next to the garbage can. Or actually we'll just go right here. I think I can press this button and land. Okay, so I press the down clicker. I press that, and it's just slowing down the throttle and it's stopping. Now, you'll notice that we took off from the table here and it had to go all the way down past 0, okay? It sets its own home position when you take off. So I don't know if there's a barometer in this, but I kind of assume there is based on how perfectly it's holding its level. They use barometers to do that. And it's kind of amazing that you can get that. You see how it goes up and then it stops. That's where it goes, okay? So that's about how high it's gonna go. It's about chest high on me. I'm 6 foot tall, okay? So it goes about 4.5 feet up, and then it's done, right? Now watch what happens when I land on a different level. It's struggling because it doesn't know if it's home yet, but it's decided now. That's really nice, but it's a little bit slow. If you were to crash into something, that'd be a bad day, because it would sit there and run into the ground and flop around and probably break itself. Speaking of breaking itself. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is there's the sticks down, that recalibrates the gyro, and then there's sticks down like this. And what did that do again? I forget. I don't know. I'm gonna take off again. Okay, so we're just gonna let it go up. You always gotta be on your game though, because that kind of came toward me a little bit. Not the end of the world, but it is something to be keeping in mind. Very easy to fly. If you know your basic principle flight controls, you'll be able to fly this. It's not hard. It's kind of like flying a drone, I would say. After the gyro calibration, I feel like it's flying worse. So you'll notice what happened there. I was able to stop it by just holding the stick down, but I didn't like how long it took to stop because I was watching it run into the trim and cut up the trim and make a big mess, but it didn't. So we kind of got lucky on that one. I want to find out how to kill this thing like right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pause. We'll jump into the manual and see what the manual says about that and then report that to you. All right, folks. So I was talking about how great this English is, and then I found this line. Okay, start your first flight. The binding of success of the flight level is placed on the ground to ensure that the aircraft tail to you head in front. As the picture showa, jog sticker corner to start motors.
Okay.
So
well, it was going well.
It was better at the beginning, and I think the editor was probably fired halfway through the book. But that being said, I think we got the gist of it. There is basically this down button is the button that you can press, or you can hold the stick down in order to land. The problem is, and this is something that you'll run into on some helicopters and some vertical takeoff aircraft, it just takes a second to land. Now, why is that a problem? If you land on carpet like this, I've found many times that the rails like to get caught in the fibers of the carpet. So let's go ahead and take off. Okay, so obviously the calibration procedure kind of almost like blows out your trims, except I don't know that it did, because it seems strangely similar to what I did when I first took off, because I recalibrated this and it seemed to be quite a bit worse, okay? And so once you've calibrated it, it's gonna go back to almost like the home position or the home settings. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just demonstrate a landing on the carpet. I had hoped to land up here, but as you can see, there's a cat using the cat tree rudely, or as our youngest son would put it, catsy, being catsy. Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna press the down button here. I'm just kind of using my thumb to direct traffic here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it over here and just press it down. So you can see it basically finds the ground itself. And I'm just sitting here monitoring it in case it tries to shoot over at the cats or something. The cats are very into this, as you can see. They're thinking, excited. They're planning their attack. And I don't blame them, because I would be too if I was them. Okay, so the other thing is you're supposed to do this, but they don't really elaborate on exactly what it does. I think when you do that, the canopy comes off and $1 million comes out. So let's
Sweet, try it.
Let's try it. You ready? Okay. Oh boy, that's a little scary. Wow, that's weird. I don't know what that means. Oh, a little bit scary. Okay, so it took off. Oh, that's the different, is that the different hover mode?
Hey.
I know.
Pouncer.
Get back, get back. The cats are probably a little bit dumber than you might want to give them credit for. They might jump into it, so I don't want to get hurt. I think what that did is it started a different hover mode where it's not taking off to the,
like that auto, yeah.
It's just, yeah, okay, so yes, get back, get back, get back. I'll just protect the cat. We should be okay. So now I'm gonna do the hover mode here. We're okay here. As you can see, the cat is very concerned about this, and that's okay. I always like it when the cats like the helicopters and things that we review, because it's more interesting that way. Now, that being said, having a helicopter that you can't immediately stop the prop on is a little bit more scary for those of you who are less experienced, or, like if you have little kids that are gonna be anywhere near this thing, you need to be very careful.
Yeah.
Just so you don't end up getting somebody hurt, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower this down. I wanna try pressing this button here to see what happens. Nothing. You'll notice nothing. I'm pressing and holding and there is no action whatsoever. Oh wait, yeah there is.
Are you doing that?
I'm doing it, but see when I pressed that button, I thought maybe it was changing the hover mode. You see, our cat is sizing up the victim right now. So basically, I would say, in a nutshell, there's your change in speed. Keep in mind when you have a barometer controlled up and down, there's always gonna be lag, because this is not gonna be full control. You are depending on the flight controller, and if you want full control, you're not gonna like that. Okay, so let's land. I'm gonna press the down arrow, and it goes to a flashy light. That was actually pretty good because I took off from that same point.
Right.
So what I'm getting at now that I'm landed and I'm not concerned about the cat jumping into the prop, when you have a collective pitch helicopter or just, you know, a nicer remote controlled helicopter, when you, not that this isn't nice, I mean just like when you have a quality one, this is a quality one too. When you have a mode 2 transmitter with a regular throttle and cyclic control, then what's going to happen is as you give throttle, it's going to spin up and it's going to engage and change the pitch. So you're going to have a pitch curve and you're going to have a throttle curve, and you can change those and play with them so that, you know, the engagement of pitch is going to happen at a certain point. Well, then you can go into the idle up mode where it basically runs the prop at full speed and you just change the pitch only of the prop, okay? So that's why we don't have that here. That's why we don't have a third servo. That third servo would change the pitch of the props. You can also tell by looking at the style of blades. So like this blade is just like this, okay? If this was going to be a full collective pitch setup, then there would be a third arm that comes up in this area here, and that would change the pitch of the blades. Okay, all we're changing is this and this, okay? We're not changing this on each of the blades. That's the third control axis that you would have in a full collective pitch. So what happens is you have the motor, and that spins this faster to produce more thrust, you know, like a fan, okay? Whereas a true full control helicopter is going to change the pitch of this, and you can spin up and do idle up, and then you can flip the helicopter upside down and do upside down flight and things like this if you're skilled. I mean, just like the camera crew does off camera. Mm-hmm. Just kidding, she doesn't. Okay, so a little bit more flying, takeoff button. I must say, it's not like especially scary to see it take off, but I can tell you one thing is that, like if I were to Enrique this, that's Enrique, meaning I grab it while it's flying. That's probably not advisable. It's really working to get it back to where it was. I wonder if the battery's low.
I wouldn't think so.
See, it's trying, because there's two ways that you can control yaw on this helicopter. That is with this and with the torque of the motor. It's really trying to get back into position. So that's where it was, right? So watch where it is. I want to see what happens. Oh, that is freaky and weird. So it just wants to control everything, and it's kind of disconcerting for somebody who knows how to fly a helicopter. And when I say no, I mean very vaguely. I know how to do it, but I'm not very good at it. So I would say this helicopter is definitely not hard to fly. It's very easy to fly, but it would also be very easy to crash. And so because of the size, I don't want to crash it. Can we show them what happens when we crash? Should we like do a planned crash here?
What are you crashing into?
Well, I was thinking if we crashed into the ground, we could just show them if it breaks in a million pieces.
Yeah, or I mean like the couch, because they're super high quality.
Well, there's a cat up here, so I think what I'll do is I'll just, that's Colby, right? Okay, so we'll just crash now. Okay, so taking off, I'm gonna intentionally crash into the ground, guys. So in order to do this safely, it's really not gonna be that big a deal. We're just gonna, the cat's on the ground under the chair, so we'll just, I'm trying to crash it, and look how good that worked. I was holding the stick down and I was forcing this in all the directions. It didn't work, okay?
Okay, so what happens if you are like over the couch and you come down, so you're gonna land on something that's not
level? Okay, that would probably work. So let's crash that way. Okay, so guys, yes, we are crashing this on purpose. So just full disclosure, I interrupted it. It didn't go up as high as it needed to, just so it was easier to get it to crash. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna just try stick down. Oh yeah, okay, that was pretty fast. It canceled the...
It did stop
It canceled really quick. Oh, look. I just noticed. Is this a staple? Oh, it's a staple. I thought it came out of... I thought it came out of the helicopter. It just happened to be a staple. Okay. So let's try taking off and see if anything blew up. So whenever you have a crash with the helicopter, the first thing you want to do is move everything to see if all the controls are working. And then on this, you can't, there's no throttle to check, so you just take off. Well, as you can see, that didn't really phase the helicopter too much. It doesn't even seem to be flying at all bad. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you is if you get this style of helicopter and then you go to something that's a full collective pitch, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, I thought I knew how to fly helicopters. But,
Right.
but you really don't. And the other thing too is I feel like the controls, there was a high and low rate, and right now I'm in M, which I think is medium. I think this is medium. Let's show the people on the screen here. See if you can give them a view of that. You see how it says M? Okay. So that must be medium rates. And where did I press to make that change? Oh, there's high. Okay. Wow, so that's quite a bit more, but it's still auto levels. So it's auto leveling, but there's just a little bit more to it.
More
It lets you pitch the helicopter more, which is like way faster too. So if you're flying outside, you're gonna have to go into the high rates to manage your wind. Now let's try landing now. Goes down a little bit faster, still a little bit of a bounce there. Okay, now we're gonna take back off and see what it does in high rates. Okay, coming up, once it stops flashing, you know it's to altitude. And then let's land. We're just gonna let auto land. It's doing a good job of keeping its spatial location. One thing I noticed is that even though the trim is allowing it to wander and drift a little bit this way, which is, you know, it's not a big deal. We are still in a relatively small room. You don't want that when you're landing. So I'm really happy with it so far. I mean, this is pretty good. It's gonna fly forever too on that battery. Because that 700 milliamp 2S is doing very well. Let's check the voltages, in fact.
And then if it comes with 2 batteries, like.
Right, this one comes with 2 batteries. Obviously, we're gonna link to this. Follow the link in the description if you're interested in buying one. Let's just plug this in without even taking it out. 24%, so yeah, 3.7.
Hold on, maybe that'll help. That does help.
3.8, okay. So that's pretty decent. I would say that this battery is spent. So what are your thoughts, camera crew?
It's cool. It's a little different than I thought it was gonna be. But I think the biggest thing with helicopters is knowing what you're getting into and what kind of a helicopter you want.
The other thing too is I think I'm realizing that I may not have had that battery all the way forward. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump straight into another battery right now and just see if that was part of our issue. This is solid, so it must be done.
Is this flyable? Can Andrew fly it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Our oldest son could easily fly this, no problem. Now that being said, you see, I didn't have the battery pushed all the way forward.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was, I think I ran into a bump or something and I never actually pushed it all the way. That's all the way.
Oh,
I'm surprised it flew so good. So now I'm gonna see how it flies. Ooh, I lost one of the triangles. This is one of the triangles I'm talking about. It just popped off. I honestly don't care about the triangles myself. I think it looks plenty good without them.
And you don't usually have problems with the thing like coming off just because the little triangle is not on there.
No, I've never really had an issue with that. Okay, so I'm just gonna plug this in upside down and then I'm gonna quickly lay it down flat. And then in order to do this properly, I'm gonna turn this off and then back on. It goes to a fast flash, down, then up, then down again, and it's gonna arm. It is armed. I plugged in the other battery, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna press the up and take off. Oh yeah. I'm still in high rates. No, I'm in medium now. So it must default to the medium rates. Oh, there goes the little black thing. Did you see it fall?
Oh, no, I did not.
It's no big deal, but it just happens to have fallen off.
Okay, so I like the idea of the one-touch takeoff because sometimes taking off a helicopter can be kind of intimidating for a newer pilot. But at the same time, if you're a newer pilot and you're a little bit intimidated and you push that button and it just goes up and you're not prepared for it, you have to be prepared.
It could be quite disconcerting.
Yeah. Like if you gave that.
You hear how the gyro works? It's trying to hold it steady and it's doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's very strong. Trying to get back to where it was. That's really cool. Okay, so let's shut it off. Down arrow. It's found home. It's okay with the home being this different from the barometric readings. I'm really happy with this thing. It's very good. And you're right, intimidation factor is big with helicopters. So if you guys are looking for something that would be relatively easy to get into, relatively inexpensive. This would be a great choice. It's not anything that's going to be like super cost prohibitive. I mean, obviously these things aren't free, but you know, this is going to be a low price point. It's going to get you into it. It's very fun. It's definitely not like the SEMA helicopters of the past, the coaxial helicopters. You're going to be able to do a lot more than that. You'll definitely be able to fly in some wind, but I'm going to tell you right now, you need to pay attention to the wind, because if this thing is flying and it gets blown in the wind and you're up 30 feet and then it starts flying away, it is not impossible to have a flyaway on something like this. So you need to just pay attention to that. Fly into the wind, obviously take off with the tail facing you. It's the easiest way to keep your orientation. And I'm really happy with the way it works out. Definitely a high quality helicopter. It handled the crashes, no problem. Now, that being said, I'm not actually excited about running this into our white trim on the cabinets. Yeah. So I think it could possibly maybe ding the trim. If you had a hardwood instead of something like this, I think you'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
But the drywall would mark.
Yep.
So that being said, and we've crashed into a lot of stuff. That's part of the reason why I tell you this. Like, am I comfortable flying this inside my house? I'm totally comfortable. Yep. I've flown much, much more stupid things in the house.
And if you were a new pilot and you had like a gym or had access to a bigger building, if you don't have ceilings in your house, high ceilings, you could easily do
you could 100% fly this in the garage.
Yeah.
And then if you run into the wall or whatever, it's not a big deal. But I really like it. Now, I did notice too, just that the motor gets pretty toasty. So don't be inclined to try to take off the heatsink. I'd be careful, don't get burned. So it gets warm.
Yeah.
So that being said, that was a long flight. What are we at for time?
Well, we're at 41. I think
41
you
total minutes?
flew probably about 15 minutes.
Yeah, they were quoting 15 to 20 minutes. So again, I've been super happy with JJRC. I mean, everything was going well except for 0.2 on whatever they were talking about. That was very weird. Because I was really surprised at how well the manual was put together. It's good pictures. It's easy to tell what's going on. And it does come with the spare parts that you really need. And by the way, the Allen wrench is going to be, of course, for putting on the blades. So super easy. Okay, anything else, camera crew, you can think of?
Not on this one.
I like it. So guys, definitely check the link in the description below. You can buy one for your very own and help support the people to support us and send us these planes to review, planes and helicopters to review. And come back for more. We have tons more coming, and we hope you'll be a part of it with us at Brian Phillips RC.